I'm Alan Weiss, and this is The Writing on the Wall. Welcome back to The Writing on the Wall. This episode is that people are cheap. I'm sure not you, but I found that people are cheap. My wife and I have headed the capital campaign for church, and we've headed various board initiatives and helped to raise money. And it's getting tougher than ever. Not long ago, I was waiting with a parish priest before church started, and we were discussing the decline in contributions. And I said, I was trying to be very, politically correct. I said, well, it's very tough. People have responsibilities. He said, no, he says, I've been doing this a long time. I've been in the priesthood for 35 years, and people have gotten fucking cheap. He said to him, have you been to confession lately? But I think he was just terribly frustrated, and he's human like the rest of us. We see gratuities printed on bills today. Gratuities are printed on restaurant bills. They also appear if you use Uber. They give you a choice of gratuities and so forth. And a lot of people say, well, that's because tourists come and tourists don't know the American tipping method. No, I don't think so. I think it's because Americans aren't tipping enough. And so they're telling you what it is. There's another possibility, of course, and that is because fewer and fewer Americans can do math in their heads and can't figure out what 20% is. But I digress. People are pumping gas in the rain and snow to save a few cents at stations that pump for you. Now, if you're from New Jersey, you can't do that because New Jersey has a law, I grew up in New Jersey, where the gas stations can only pump for you. You cannot self-pump because New Jersey's legislature feels that people in that state will self-immolate. So, no worries there. People are eliminating subscriptions to magazines, to online publications, to TV channels, to streaming. They're trying to save a few bucks. There's much less giving to charities. It used to be that charities made it with unearned income, donations, fundraising, and not so much earned income, which are ticket sales and so forth. That's been reversed, and more charities are making more and more money from earned income because the unearned income isn't there sufficiently. Even volunteers' time, which is something you can be generous with or cheap with, is not as forthcoming. People talk a good game. My last episode was on symbolism, right? But they don't deliver a good game. And so people think we're worse economically, and they're trying to save money, but that's false. We're doing better than ever. If you look it up, as they say, every social strata, every economic strata is doing better today than 5 years ago. And I'm not sure that's due to any current or past political administration. I just think that's the way cycles in America work. But that's the fact. The market is setting records. The economy is strong. Unemployment's at a 50-year low. We're in good shape. People don't want to believe it for some reason. Actually, I find some people brag about not tipping. I left a dime, tried to make a point. Well, the point you made is that you're an idiot. So now everyone asks for a tip. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So now everyone wants a tip, and they put up a crude sign in crayon that they deserve a tip. So my favorite is you go to an airport newsstand, and you buy, some candy or a newspaper, and it's $1.70. And she's got a tip jar. And you're supposed to tip for somebody simply taking your money and making change. I don't get that at all. I've seen some people try to tip tellers and flight attendants. There are some people who just have good hearts, and they're trying to give money to a bank teller or a flight attendant. I think it's a nice gesture. I would not be offended by that. Who knows, I might keep the money. I stuff my pockets with small bills when I travel. So my wife and I are going to New York tomorrow, and I'll have small bills in my pockets because you tip the first-class steward on the train, you tip the person at the hotel who takes your bags, you tip the doorman if the doorman has anything to do with it. You're better off tipping than not tipping because they'll do you favors later if you need something, And $5 is not too much to give someone. I'd rather tip too much than too little. Life's too short. Some people's livelihoods consists of making good tips. Why not? They deserve it. That's the way the system works. And I always over tip the dog groomers.